Good evening, everyone. I'm Sophie Williamson, joined tonight by my other co-hosts, Chris Henry and Trista Wood. We are members of Summerville High School's mock trial team. I am a junior, and Chris and Trista are both seniors moving on next year to pursue their careers. I want to thank you all for coming out tonight, as it is a great opportunity to hear from both of the candidates running for the District 3 Supervisor. This event is brought to you by the Tuolumne Parks and Recreation with questions from each of the 5 special districts in Tuolumne and questions from the audience. Tonight you will hear from both of the candidates, Anaiah Kirk and McCaffrey. We ask and expect to have a civil, respectful, and productive debate that will further your knowledge and help with your voting decision. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Chris Henry, and again, thank you to both candidates for coming out tonight. This will be a structured debate. Each candidate will be given 3 minutes for an opening statement, starting with the candidate on the left as seen by the moderator, and going left to right. Following these statements, there will be a question and answer period. Questions will be limited to 20 seconds in length, and each candidate will be given 3 minutes to answer, alternating on who answers first. After each candidate answers the question, a 1-minute follow-up response will be given to each candidate as well to further their point and discuss the other candidate's position. After the question period, 4 minutes will be allotted to each candidate for a closing statement, beginning with the candidate that gave their opening statement first. All times will be kept to their limit, and candidates will be hard stopped at their respective time marks, even if they have not finished their statements. When the candidate reaches 30 seconds remaining on their time, a yellow sheet, looking like this, will be displayed. And once the time is up, a red sheet looking like this will be displayed. At that time, the candidate will be stopped by the moderator, even if they have not finished speaking. Timing on each component of the debate will begin once the respective candidate begins speaking. Furthermore, attacks made on a person regarding race, religion, family, sex, and private personal life will not be tolerated, and the moderator will stop the debate and issue a warning to the offending candidate. Any comments made on the opposing campaign or any publicly available statements made by any candidate, including social media comments, will be allowed and not stopped. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our first 5 questions will be from individual special districts. The forum we have going on tonight also allows for audience members to ask their own questions to the candidates. In the back of the room, there is a table with note cards, and there are 2 people sitting at it. If you wish to ask a question, please make your way to this table, grab a note card, and write your answer on this blind side. After you write your answer, please hand your note card to one of the people sitting at the table or insert it in the box holding other people's questions. There are numerous questions you can ask. However, I do request that they are not vulgar, that your question has not been asked before, and that your questions must not be slanted toward one candidate. For your question to be selected, you must make sure that it can be answered by both candidates. By 6:45, we need all the questions submitted to the back of the room in the box. No more questions will be considered after this time. Thank you. We will begin with the opening statement, first from Mr. Kirk.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you kids for putting this on. I was excited to actually hear about the format. I think we've had 5 or 6 forums, and not one forum has had an opportunity for an actual real debate where you go back and forth. So I think that's great. So thank you guys for putting that on. I appreciate what you said about the personal attacks. I was planning on keeping this PG since you guys are here, so we'll be okay. Anaiah Kirk, born and raised here in Tuolumne County, born and raised up in New Oak Village. I tell everybody knows the story by now. I went to Mother Christian right here. I met my wife in the 4th grade. In the 5th grade, I told my brother, Mel, that I was going to marry her. He thought I was crazy. I didn't know what I was talking about. We never dated, throughout high school, but then fast forward, I was living in Mammoth for a short stint. After my parents' divorce, I really just wanted to get out of Dodge and try and get out of town and just do something else. And I fell in love with skiing at a young age. I started competing, started traveling, winning competitions, doing things. I got, I think it was 13th or 15th at the US Open in Vail, Colorado, and that's really where things changed. So I ended up pursuing skiing, lived in Mammoth for a while, but then I got my 7th concussion. And I kind of had a Steve Young story where they said you gotta come home and heal or you can go into a coma. So I came home. Right when I came home, I bumped into Amy. We started dating. I went back to college. I went to CSU Stanislaus. I got my degree in criminal justice with a concentration in criminal law. I thought I wanted to be an attorney, but I didn't want to be stuck behind a desk because I got ADHD, if you know me. So I became a juvenile probation officer. My wife and I married. We had 2 kids. Life was great. Became a juvenile probation officer, ended up transferring to the prison. Thought I wanted to be a parole agent, but then ended up promoting up to the classification route in prison. And one day there was a really bad policy that was proposed for Tuolumne County. It was the big cannabis grows. Don't care if you smoke pot, but I don't want to turn our local forest into big grows. So I ran. Didn't think I was going to win, but I won. And the rest is kind of in history. I think tonight you're going to hear a really clear difference between the two of us. I'm results oriented. I'm fine meeting with you and talking with you. But at the end of the day, we got to get some work done. So I prioritize our budget to deliver on the results that this community has been demanding literally for decades. And I think that's the most important thing of all of this, is that we can talk about the priorities or we can budget and actually do them. And so I'm going to finish by saying this. I had 2 kids, then I had 2 more kids. And that is the genesis of my life. And so that's the most important. But I'm running again to keep the momentum going on the results. The pendulum has literally been like this. I've turned it around, and the trajectory looks great.
Thank you. Now for an opening statement by Mr. McCaffrey.
All right, good evening. And thank you, Bree, for doing this tonight. I know it can be nerve-wracking and it takes some bravery sometimes to moderate these things. Good evening, everybody. My name is Tim McCaffrey, and I'm running for District 3 Supervisor because I believe our district deserves steady, full-time, community-first leadership. I've lived here, worked here, raised my family here. I've been on local boards. I've volunteered in this country for decades. In this county for decades. And the issues in front of us are serious right now. We've got fire prevention, we've got emergency services, we've got roads, we've got water now, we've got all sorts of things coming up. Tuolumne County is a place that I love, and I know many of us who choose to live here permanently love it as much as I do. But I've seen that there has been some frustration with leadership. I'm running to serve you, to listen what you will tell me. I want to ask better questions, and then I want to bring that to the board and work with people who know more than me and work together with them so that we can make good, positive change in Tuolumne County. I'm not running to be in control. This job is about people. It's not about power. The issues we face are simply local issues. They're not partisan issues. And I believe leadership starts with listening, preparation, and follow through. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will begin our questions portion of this. Our first question will be going to Mr. Kirk first. How do you feel about rezoning downtown Tuolumne in a way that enforces commercial buildings remaining for commercial use only, meaning no more allowing commercial buildings to be repurposed as residential to revitalize commerce?
That's a good question, and that's come up a couple times in some meetings with CDD. So the interesting thing about Tuolumne City, downtown Tuolumne, is you can drive around and you can see, obviously, the empty storefronts. back after World War II, this community was thriving. If you look at the way they built the streets and the way they set this whole area, this is actually like one of the most beautiful and probably best put together districts or spots within our community. The problem is, I mean, there's people like John Ferriani who grew up here who've seen the stores come and go. The problem is, a lot of it is from obviously the logging industry. With the mill and with the decimation of the logging industry, a lot of families who used to live down here and live in these homes and support these local commercial businesses, they were all decimated over the last couple of decades. So what you ended up having was empty storefronts. And while I completely get the idea of making sure commercial space remains commercial space, for a long time, those commercial spaces sat vacant. And if you know anything about spaces, whether it's commercial or residential, if they sit vacant, they start to fall apart. The water, the plumbing, all that stuff happens. So in one sense, it's a good thing that some folks have moved in and potentially converted it to residential because it's restoring it. But then what happens when the economy starts to come back? The tribe's obviously been doing well. There's more development. There's more things on the way. And so I think as a county, we absolutely can and we should start to pivot a little bit. But I kind of want the free market to do what it does, because if you start zoning things, you kind of have to, you can grandfather people in, but I think the best approach is that as more development comes into the community, more commercial businesses are going to want to come in naturally. So when they come in naturally, a lot of these homes are rented. Well, if I'm a homeowner and I own that piece of property, and it could be commercial, but it's being used as residential, well, if the free market does its thing, and that value starts to come up because there's more businesses coming in, because there's more happenings in the area, well then I, as the owner of that piece, will naturally sell that to the commercial world because I think there's more value. So I'm okay with the idea of zoning things that make sense, especially if you can like make the bottom part zone for the business and the top part residential, like a lot of downtown Sonora is. But I think that as the economy grows, we just kind of grow with it and watch the private market do this thing. So I hope that's clear, but I think that's the most appropriate thing, and I think it will happen naturally, and the government doesn't necessarily need to force it. So,
Thank you. And now Mr. McCaffrey.
So I was lucky enough to hit every house in downtown Tuolumne, and I knocked on doors and got to speak to people who live here. And that was amazing because I got to have real conversations with people who live near downtown. When I first started coming up here, there were businesses up here, and they slowly went away. The simple answer to the question is, yeah, I think it's a great idea to zone downtown for commercial only. What's going to happen is that if we get into mixed use or we turn all these into homes, that's what downtown is going to be. Now, downtown Tuolumne, to me, and the vision that I have for it, is a thriving, unique stores that are in each one of those, that this surrounding area can support wholeheartedly. When you go in and you pull into downtown, I have this beautiful vision about these commercial buildings being filled, and it's basically like downtown America, USA. It's like as you walk into Disneyland, where each store has something different than the next. That's what brings in people from the outside, because you're going to get something here that you can't get anywhere else in the world. Now, to make that possible at the government level, we have to make that easy. We have to make that process easier. We have to make that permitting easier. We have to make it simpler and cheaper to open up a business so that in the long run, our county's collecting taxes. When we collect taxes from those businesses, we're all thriving. They're making money, the county's making money. I think it's a win-win. Thank you.
Thank you. And now for a rebuttal from Mr. Kirk.
yeah, I want to start in reverse order. As far as making the process easier, our board has absolutely done that. When I came into office, you had to submit plans and they had to be routed and it would take months. Then we implemented what's called OpenGov. So you submit your permits, instead of it sitting and getting routed, everybody has access to it online much faster. When it comes to permits, the county doesn't make money on permits. We just have to cover our costs. So when people say, we have to make it less expensive. The permits have to cover the department to keep the doors open. So I just want to clear that. I think we both share the same vision as far as it being prosperous down here, but how we approach that is much different. The only way that you're going to get families to move in here and more businesses to move in here is if you have a safe community and you have a community where families want to come to. So part of the bigger plan is you have to have a fully staffed sheriff's department and school resource officers keeping the kids safe. Because when people want to move from the Bay Area, the tech people want to move up here and decide where they're going to land, they're going to look at, is it a safe community and is there good schools? That's the first thing.
So if you talk to local businesses, it's not easy. You've got talked to some, and basically what they've run into is issues with inspection. In fact, what many businesses have run into is because we just have a change in inspectors. I just talked to Scott, he agreed with me, he's one of the inspectors of our county, that he came in and found out that the person before him was following a different code than he was. And everyone's getting mad at him, and what ends up happening is he's just doing his job. As far as making this place safe, I don't know. I know what Tuolumne looked like 20 years ago, and I know what Tuolumne looks like today. I know that has a lot to do with the Parks and Rec. We've got this beautiful park. We've got baseball fields. We've got kids riding their bikes in the new bike park. We've got a swimming pool. As far as I'm concerned, Tuolumne's a safe place.
Thank you, and now for the second question. This will be first heard by Mr. McCaffrey. What actions would each of you take to actively work toward revitalizing commerce in Tuolumne and attract businesses to open in downtown?
Well, geez, I kind of answered that already. Basically making the process easier. Like I said, the vision I have is really clear. I think I share that with some people who are in this town. I know that when I'm here on Wednesdays in the summertime and the park is filled with people, take a picture of it. It is beautiful. It really brings me back to what Twainmart was in the 70s and 80s. We've got live music. We've got a bustling community here that most likely wants to shop right here in Tuolumne. I know that when the market closed, when the pizza place closed, it was devastating. I would love to see that reopen. What we have to do as a community in Tuolumne and the surrounding areas is make sure that we support local first. It's not always easy, it's not always the cheapest way to go, but if you shop local first, the taxes stay in Tuolumne County. When we go down to Sonora, in the city, what ends up happening is the city gets the taxes. So instead of having to raise the taxes in Tuolumne County, we just need to spend our money right here and it comes right back to us. I'm a huge supporter of local, shop local first, and if we could do that right here, that's a huge attraction for any business. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kirk.
Yeah, one thing that comes to mind, and I don't know if the community here knows this, but I'm just going to tell you, James can vouch for this. If I did not work year over year on the contract that we have with TPRD to maintain these grounds, and maintain the buildings, and to make it look like when you guys come here and it looks beautiful and you have the concerts, all that stuff going on. Yes, it is TPRD, but the county is the third leg of that stool. We have a contract with them. And I can't tell you how many times other board of supervisors have wanted to cut that contract to save $100 grand. And had I not consistently, meeting after meeting after meeting, successfully brought CAOs out here, brought other county supervisors out here, had meetings, that contract would be cut and they would be driven by now financially. I don't know what that would look like. I don't ever want to know what that would look like because I grew up going another Christian. I used to run from here to Summerville and back, and there were like druggies on the streets. If I was wearing a camouflage shirt, they would ask me if I could have the shirt. Like, I know what this place was like 20 years ago, and I know what it's like now. Don't ever want to go back. So I just want to be clear about creating an atmosphere. We don't make businesses thrive, but we can create atmospheres for it to be a better situation. One thing I want to touch on is tourism. Now, tourism is a $300 million industry in our county, and one of the best things we can do, I don't know if you guys saw it, but Summer Pass just opened up. Okay, that's a huge, the light switch just went on. The other day, yesterday's forum, Tim said that he doesn't think it's a big deal. He's talking to businesses, it's not a big deal. Look at what Tween Heart Mini Golf just posted. They're ecstatic that the pass just opened up, so guess what? They're going to have more doors open next week. It's a big deal. So that's one thing I've been working on the Senator Alvarado Gill, SB 1832. Instead of opening up Summer Pass at the end of May, open it at the beginning of May. All the businesses that lose revenues or will struggle from December to March, they're going to make that money back in 1 month of May. It's amazing. The other thing is that we can do for here specifically, again, I've seen the pictures in the CRC. When they were building that, when we were doing the dedication, I saw the pictures of what this world looked like here when there was a logging industry. You guys, we have $95 million secured for all this work going around Tuolumne County. Guess where a lot of those people used to live? They used to live right here in Tuolumne City. They used to work at the mill. That industry was decimated. And right now, Tuolumne County is one of the focal points in the nation, and definitely the state, to be getting work done. So we can continue to push that, continue to create jobs locally for that. And just so you guys know, because of my background and what I do, Tuolumne City is one of the most hottest spots for young people right now to come live because of the affordability aspect. So we have young people moving in. And like I said, let the free market do its thing. If more things start happening, more commercial will come in. But we don't force it, we just create safe environments, we create safe schools, we work on the industries that we know are successful. It's going to take time, but you'll see it continue to thrive.
So, TPRD gets about $126,000 from Tuolumne County, and they get that in a 5-year contract. Every 5 years, that comes back up and it becomes a point of contention. And every 5 years, they're fighting for that money. The bottom line is, we spend about $300,000 on Standard Park. And for $126,000 that we give to the town of Tuolumne, the Parks and Rec Department, they get all the parks in the Sierra Madre. Now, as far as the logging industry, 70% of our logging industry is actually owned by the feds right now. And then the other 30% is owned by SBI. So that's not an industry that we can tap into as a county. I just want to shut that down because it's not going to happen. Now, Highway 108 opening early, that's just a safety issue. People die on that road in the middle of May. And I don't want to see it happening because we're forcing the road to be open on May 1st.
Okay, so you're missing the whole picture, Tim. The Cerro project, we spent $55 million, we're going to spend $95 million. But to maintain that, I don't care what land it's on. I don't care if it's on personal land, U.S. Forest Service land, it doesn't matter. Those fuel breaks need to be maintained. That's why I'm working on the Water Smart grant. We're going to show downstream water users that when you do fuel breaks up here in Tuolumne County, it makes your water cleaner, it makes it better. So when it flows downstream, Head Chechi in San Francisco are taking our natural resource of water, and when we have the data, we're going to go ask them to pay for the maintenance fees. The point you're missing is that those will be jobs in perpetuity. So who cares what land it's on? Regarding, I don't understand the idea about 108 opening and people dying. People die every single day on the roads. So Caltrans are professionals. If it's not safe, they will close it. But it's almost like you buck every idea that I have because it's coming from Anaiah Kirk. I don't understand.
For our next question, it will be first addressed by Mr. Kirk. How will each of you address the need for both businesses and affordable housing in the downtown areas? How will each of you address the need for both businesses and affordable housing in the downtown areas?
Well, I think a lot of this conversation has been that. We create safe environments, we create great schools. It's everything that we just talked about. So, since I got 3 minutes, let's talk about the Water Smart grant again, because I think a lot of that is over people's heads. So the Water Smart grant, again, you guys have all seen the bullet train to nowhere, right? It was supposed to be like $100 million, and now it's what, $300 billion? I don't even know, it's ridiculous. So we're gonna expend all this money on this fuels work, and if we don't maintain it in the next decade, that $100 million worth of work is gonna be worth $300-400 million. So it's really important that we understand part of the reason why I'm running for office. I've spearheaded this myself, Sean Henry, the Natural Resources Committee. Nobody else. I'm spearheading this initiative. And again, when I go to Chenchi and I've already met with TA, I've already met with legislators on this. The data is going to show. And we're going to go to these folks. And what you guys can understand is in the urban areas, when they talk about going green and all the carbon emissions, all this stuff, we have to remind them, in one mega fire, everything that California everything combined that they regulate goes up in one mega fire. So when I go to these urban areas and I say, hey, look, for 0.00001% of your budget, I can take that money, I can maintain these fuel breaks, put locals to work, so businesses, housing, people are needing housing to come here and work. And also on that point, support CTE programs, career technical education, that's just going on in Summerville, Columbia College. We can go to them and say, support this, and it's going to create jobs in industry. It's kind of revolutionary because if you think about it, the dots need to be absolutely connected with these urban folks who scream. We've spent so much money in litigation, in studies. We had the climate action plan that we dealt with 4 or 5 years ago. It was so ridiculous. So we can go to these downstream users, we can show them the data, we can make them get green with us, and they're going to pay for it, and it's going to be local. Again, I feel like I'm repeating myself because a lot of the conversation to hear was regarding that, but if I'm hoping, if I don't remain in office, I don't know who's going to continue to carry that torch, because it's literally one of the biggest things that we're working on, and yet it gets so lost in translation. So I think the other thing is, like I said, the sheriff's deputies. One thing that I want to do to continue to keep the community safe, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but we're trying to get a district attorney and a dedicated deputy to go after crimes against vulnerable populations. A big part of that is, again, safety. We have one of the highest sex offense rates towards children in our community, and we need to address that issue.
So housing and jobs. Basically, we have a housing shortage crisis. One of the reasons that is because about 85% of the housing, not necessarily in Tuolumne, but in Twain Arundel, is occupied by short-term rentals and cabiners. If we're talking about housing in Tuolumne specific, we need housing for workforce, senior housing, we need responsible infill, we need to remove unnecessary barriers right now that are happening at the county level, as well as creating a better path to smaller projects. At the same time, we need to respect fire safety and water availability. We need to pay attention to traffic that's happening right here in Tuolumne, pay attention to evacuation routes, and really keep the character of what Tuolumne already is. But the bottom line is, if teachers, firefighters, our local workforce doesn't have a place to live, then jobs and housing don't equal out. So what we also need to create, what is part of the question, is we have to increase jobs here. We have to promote the fact that in our area, it doesn't necessarily have to be at the mill. You don't necessarily anymore have to be at Dodge or in one of our stores. We have this amazing thing that happened during COVID. It's one of the great things that actually came out of it. It's working from home. There are a lot of young people right now. I've got some very close friends that literally came up here during that time, are working here, spending their money here, making their money remotely. This is an amazing place to work remotely. You live in the woods, you live in a small town, and at the same time, you're making city wages. It's pretty impressive. If we could promote something like that, that'd be amazing. The other side is the tourist industry. We have an incredible tourist industry here. It's the biggest money maker that we have. We need to promote that in our area to be year-round. That's something that's really important to me. We have a beautiful hot fall here. We have a wonderful spring here. Right now, we really focus on summer and winter. So leaning in on our tourist bureau to start promoting our entire county as a year-round destination.
Thank you. Now for a rebuttal from Mr. Kirk.
Yeah, I think I better understood the question when you started to talk. One of the things that we can do to help housing, the stinking insurance problem. I've been spearheading that conversation for literally 8 years while I'm in office, and it wasn't until LA burned down that the insurance commissioner started getting his act together and started actually implementing some of the ideas that myself and Assessor Recorder Keenan Whitman and I came up with. We literally have met with the ombudsman, we sent them policy recommendations, and if you look at some of the stuff coming out of their office now, it's almost word for word some of the stuff that we've been recommending for 8 years. So, and by the way, 90% of you guys who are on the FAIR plan should be off the FAIR plan in the next year. If you're not, let me know, but that's because of direct result of some of the work that we've done, but also, unfortunately, because LA burned it down. He said something about TOT. Unfortunately, I don't know if he supports it, but I know there's an initiative going around right now where they want to actually raise taxes on TOT. That's one of the worst things you can do.
Now for a rebuttal from Mr. McCaffrey.
Yeah, so as far as insurance is concerned, we're all feeling it. Mine goes up every single year, at least 3%, sometimes more than that. I had the privilege of talking to our insurance commissioner. I also had the privilege of talking to an insurance commissioner who's running. And, right now our current insurance commissioner wants to take it down incrementally. There's other people that are running that want to do a major shift and really tackle that issue. As far as TOT, that's tourist tax. That doesn't even touch us, unless you're staying at a hotel here. We're right on the line. I don't think it'll hurt too much if we raise it a couple percentages. What we need to do is make sure that those couple percentages go to the right places, like fire.
Thank you. And now for our fourth question. This will be first going to Mr. McCaffrey. How would you ensure our community receives fair and visible support moving forward?
Tuolumne itself, how Tuolumne receives fair and visible support?
Yes.
Right? So, that seems like an easy one to me. So what I didn't mention is I'm going to be a full-time supervisor. When elected, when in office, I'm going to be doing 40 hours a week there minimum. It's a salaried job. Everyone knows how salaried jobs work. It starts at 40 hours. Not 40 hours a month, 40 hours a week. And then everything above that is gravy for the county. And I can't wait to do it. That starts in those 40 hours, talking to departments, department heads, coming directly here and meeting with people who know and have their boots on the ground right here in Tuolumne. Having the time to have those conversations, make those phone calls, make the calls back, figuring out what those better questions are to ask at the administration level, to ask staff, and then going to the staff and having those conversations as well. And then with those conversations, bring that to the board, and have those conversations with the board members. Put forward things that are specific to Tuolumne, specific for right here. It's pretty simple.
Mr. Kirk?
Yeah, so Tim talks about all the things that I'm actually doing and done. And I want to address this full-time thing, because you guys are all being fooled. I just got to call it out. Totally fooled. In a union Democrat article, last year, Tim said, I'm going to continue to work my other job. I'm just not going to take on additional clients. And it fell below the radar for about a year. And then guess what? 2-3 weeks ago, I called him out on that. And you know what happened in the next forum? Oh, I'm going to give up my job because I'm so passionate about this. But then since that forum, he hasn't said that again. So I'm wondering if he's going to actually give up his other full-time job. And the reality of it is, I don't care what you do. I don't care how many jobs you have. Just deliver the results. The results. Fire, law enforcement, and road. It's on my wall. I don't need to talk to everybody again because I have all the surveys that have gone out. You guys have been demanding this for years. So for fire, we've doubled our fire engines our fire stations from 2 to 4. Stations, 2 to 4 stations. Engines, we've gone from 13 to 60. Roads, our PCI index was on the free fall. We turned it around and it's going back up. For the first time in Tuolumne County history, we are dedicating transient occupancy tax towards roads. You know what your local road material was? $780,000. That's pathetic. After the thing I spearheaded in September and I got support on, it's going to go to $3.5 million, 3.5 million. So guess what? We're going to get away from doing these stupid hot patches, and we're going to start doing overlays. So when it comes to down here, I already have the relationships. Some of the relationships I have with people are completely polar opposites, but we have professional working relationships. When it comes to things that we've done, we've secured grants. We just secured a $300,000 grant for local TPRD because it's the right thing to do. Even though I had board members who wanted to make it political and not support it. I said, no, we're going to do the right thing. We're going to do the right thing. This is what needs to be done. When it comes to the contract, no, we're going to do the right thing. We're going to support the community and do that. So I'm glad that you can come in and start that process. I've already got the experience. I've already got the results. I'm already doing it. And we're going to keep doing it. So again, this full-time thing is, please, I'll post tonight again on Facebook, the Union Democrat article. Tim is not going to be a full-time supervisor, and I don't care. Just deliver the results, because that's what we're here to do. Not to go to meetings. When Tim was asked what a full-time supervisor was again, he said, I'm going to go to all the meetings and meet with all the department heads. Well, have fun going to 23 committees and commissions. I'll be busy getting stuff done, but go sit in a room and talk. That's not what I'm doing. I'm here to deliver results.
Yeah, so I did say that. I said I was going to hold on. I was going to cut my business in half. I was going to spend 40 hours with the county, and I said I was going to keep some of the clients. A year ago, I said that. It didn't take but 2 months to be like, no, this is going to be a full-time job. Running is a full-time job. So I can't imagine being in the office. As far as committee meetings, yeah, I'm going to have a lot of fun going to committee meetings, finding out everything that needs to be done. Those people are experts at what they're doing. I'm going to lean in on those experts. And as far as one person getting everything done, it's not possible at the county level. I can tell you that for sure. It takes an entire admin. It takes everyone, all hands on deck. So when someone claims to do this, that, and the other, and one single person getting everything done, it's just not facts.
So I'm going to ask you point blank, are you going to not work when you're elected? If you're elected? Okay, good to know. We'll check on that maybe here. Experts. I find it interesting that he keeps saying the experts in the room, the experts in the room. I'm running for supervisor after 7 years of experience and literally changing the bureaucracy, cleaning out the house, steering the ship in the right direction. And it does take more than one person. If you notice, the grand jury report came out. Did you read the grand jury report? How crooked and how things were? Look what happened in 1 year. We changed that ship around. So yeah, you need at least 2 more votes. So in a sense, I'm kind of an expert, but we want the experts to be employees who are bureaucrats, but we don't want experts who actually come in and change things. So I'll do it.
Thank you guys both. Our next question will be starting with Mr. Kirk. How do you guys plan on bringing the citizens together to build a community in such a divisive time? How do you plan on bringing the citizens together to build community in such a divisive time?
That's a good question. And I know right now we're in the middle of the campaign season, so it feels divisive. I get it. I think for me, the best way to explain it is this. And hear me out, don't give any boos. things have been crazy. When I ran for office in 2018, I remember door knocking and wanting to talk to people pretty quick I realized it was the roads, it was fire, it was law enforcement, safety, keep the drugs out of the community, okay. But when I started door knocking and I wanted to talk to people about those issues, I can't remember how many times people would say, well, did you vote for Trump? And I'd be like, whoa. I'm a local county candidate running for local office. And people were so divisive over some national stuff going on. And I just remember thinking to myself, gee, this is nuts. What have I got myself into? And then I went to office, and it's just getting crazier and crazier. And I don't know if it's always been like this. I never cared for politics before I ran. But it's gotten so insane. I mean, both sides, it's gotten crazy. People are getting shot. Our president has been attempted assassination 3 times. Democrats on the other aisle have also been shot. It's nuts. For me, what really hit home was when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And I used to be a sniper, and so I watched the video and I saw his neck blow out. And I thought, man, it takes some real evil to do that. And it sunk me for a minute. So after that, really I was challenging my own personal life to start reaching out to not just the other aisle in a more meaningful way, but go after the most loudest, obnoxious people who were literally coming to the board and screaming at me. So I went and I spoke with the head of the Antifa lady up here. I'm speaking with the most activist people I could find, actually inviting them to have coffee. And what I've found has been really life-changing for me, because when you get people in a room, we had a roundabout circle, and we had a great forum down in Sonora, but when I get one-on-one with people and we have coffee, and there's no crowd, there's no Facebook warriors to stand behind the stupid screens, and you look somebody in the eye and have a conversation, I started to see a lot more humanity in people that I thought of differently. And so I think the way to bring the community together in a better way is, first and foremost, you have to have a personal choice to be challenged to go down that path and have this conversation. You have to model that for your children. You have to, I tell my kids sometimes I'm going to have coffee with somebody who absolutely hates me, and we have to learn to figure this out. So I think the best way to do that is to try and model that in our own personal lives. And then I would just encourage everybody to get off social media. It is completely dividing in this world. We're all being fooled by social media and algorithms, and my kids don't have it. They're not going to get it until they're 18.
Thank you, Mr. Kirk.
So it's sad, right? It's one of the reasons that I didn't have to ring. It's one of the reasons that I saw the people in our community that were frustrated. When what's at the top, where we've got 2 different sides and they're fighting, and then next thing you know, it just trickles on down. I had friends for over 30 years. We saw things differently, and friendships were lost. It was sad. It was during Trump's first round that I decided that I was going to change from Democrat to NPP. And I did that very consciously, because being a resident up here, I didn't identify with Democrat, I didn't identify with Republican. I felt like I had one foot on either side. I still believe that. I'm still registered that way. So when I walked around and someone came up to me, or I came up to them actually, and they answered their door, and I got the same questions that I did. They said, did you vote for Trump? Who'd you vote for? And my answer was, you know what? I'm not going to answer that today, because there's too much divisiveness in our county, and I don't need to add to that. I'm here to represent you. There was a friend of my dad's who came up, very much on the right-hand side of the political spectrum. Told me point blank he was going to vote for Anaiah. And I said, great. That's your choice. And I said, but if I win, your voice still matters. And so you can come to me, we can sit down, I'm going to listen to what's important to you. And if that thing is important to enough people in our community, then that's what I'm going to represent. Because it's not about me. My job is specifically to listen, to ask better questions, and to represent District 3. Not my personal choices, not my personal choices, I'll leave it at that. And then bring that forward. I'm done with the laziness, especially right here in District 3. I'm done with losing friends. I'm ready to listen. I'm ready to listen to what is important to you, what makes you passionate about these things that are happening in our county that is not partisan. These are not partisan issues. These are local issues. And whether we agree on how the money's spent, that's where the infighting is going to happen. But that's a good conversation. Where should the money be spent? We can agree. We can land. It's important.
Thank you, Mr. McCaffrey.
Okay, I want to speak to this. There's a lot to say, and I only got a minute, but Tim got involved because of the LGBTQ meeting that happened to a man last year. And he came in the middle of an active investigation, and I work in law enforcement. You don't make declarations during an active investigation and corrupt the jury pool. He showed up and they demanded that we sign a declaration, a resolution. And I said, no, we're going to wait. We're going to wait for the investigation. So you could have brought people together. Instead, a few months later, I came with a solution after the investigation was over. And I said, the solution is we hire a district attorney and a sheriff's investigator to go after crimes against children, women, elderly, and guess what? The LGBTQ community. I don't care your race, ethnicity, gender, whatever it is. I may not agree with your lifestyle, but you damn deserve to be safe in our community. So I get tired of hearing about this lip service about, let's do something emotional and written on paper. How about we actually solve the problem and prevent it? It's a big thing.
Thank you, Mr. Kirk.
So the resolution that he's talking about was just to denounce hate crime in Tuolumne County. That's it. That's all it was. It wasn't political. It literally was like, we do not stand for hate crime in Tuolumne County. Across the board. Supervisor Kirk, Supervisor Reefer, and Supervisor Holland all came up with their own reasons of why they didn't agree with the hate crime resolution, to denounce it. Yeah, I was infuriated. I was embarrassed. And yeah, that's when I threw in my hat. Bottom line is, we do all deserve human rights. We all deserve to be treated the same. I stand behind that 100%. I would have voted yes on that resolution, no doubt.
Thank you. Now we are moving on to audience questions. So this first one will go to Mr. McCaffrey. Have you ever failed to report earnings on your FPPC campaign finance report forms and/or been the subject of an FPPC complaint for violations of the Political Reform Act to your knowledge?
Can you repeat that?
Sorry, it's a long one for sure. Have you ever failed to report earnings on your FPPC campaign finance report forms and/or been the subject of an FPPC complaint for violations of the Political Reform Act to your knowledge?
No, I've never not reported. I've followed every law that there is, and I've never been involved in an investigation with the FEPC.
So that's easy to answer because you've never had to file a 700 form because you've never been in public office. And here's the deal, you guys. This is where the rubber meets the road. Okay? So we're talking about not being controversial or not being political. Their team basically hired a gentleman who's in this audience tonight. He showed up at the Board of Supervisors a couple months ago and said, I'm so-and-so, and I'm here to go after you, board members. So we have a political activist in the room who's decided to stir up controversy. So I'm very much looking forward to the FPPC making a ruling on the allegations that they have put forward. And until then, I'm not going to speak to it. But I will tell you this, you're all dealing with smoke screens. And in the same token, we pulled his financials this week, and we found out that there's thousands of dollars that are unaccounted for management. So you guys need to go fix that. The difference is, I don't care. These things happen. You amend them, you fix them. But since this has turned into literally what you guys have to, you can't win the debate. So you've turned it into let's do a smear campaign about filling out a few forms, I'll do it too. So you guys need to fix your forms. FPPC is going to make a ruling, and when that ruling comes out, you're gonna see the truth. So in the meantime, continue enjoying the allegations that are on Facebook land. But the professionals and the people who are nonpartisan and not political are going to make a ruling, and you guys are probably going to laugh.
So I have about Form 7 here. Actually, I had to call my accountant, and he agreed to help me at 9:30 at night. We were doing it until 1 a.m. Everything that I earn right now, because I don't work for the county and I don't work for the state, so every single thing that my wife and I earned together had to go on the Form 700. It's a bummer that this question got asked, really. I didn't have anything to do with this investigation at all, nothing. Hired nobody, zero. Someone did that on their own. They then told me they did it, and literally I feel bad for Anaiah. I'm sorry that this has gotten in the way of anything.
Rebuttal? So, the broadcasted My Mother Loved Views debate that Tim didn't show for whatever reasons doesn't have the time. I find it interesting that the day after that those accusations were brought before the board, he had a very well-written blog with the allegations in it. So you had a lot of time to write a blog and include the allegations, but you had no idea about the allegations. So I find it interesting. Again, you guys, here we are at a debate, and we should be talking about budget and policy, but we're talking about allegations. Anybody, this is California, people, anybody can make an allegation about anything. So when the FPPC makes a ruling, and they were going to make a ruling, but they keep submitting more and more complaints. We can't get a ruling because they keep submitting complaints. The newest one is my signs. They don't like my signs. I've been taking pictures with deputies for years, but now that it's campaign season, they don't like my signs. So the next controversy, I don't know.
Thank you,
Wait for
it. And just a heads up for the audience, because these are audience questions, I would like to ask if you have any opinions on what the candidates are saying. Please do not say them out loud. It is distracting, and it can come across as rude to either one of the candidates. So just keeping those opinions to yourself and staying quiet throughout the debate and letting the candidates who are talking would be wonderful. Thank you. This next question will go first to Mr. Kirk, and it's when and if will potholes and road damage be fixed on major roads, including Tuolumne Road?
Well, Tuolumne Road, there's Tuolumne Road, there's Tuolumne Road North. As you guys all know, Tuolumne Road leading up to the casino, that was a little bit of a crap show, as you can all remember. I think I had to move the road 2 or 3 times. We were told that was going to take a couple years to fix after that horrible chip seal. We got into closed session. There was also casino money on the line. We told them we were going to litigate. I just want you guys to know, not only did it not take 3 years, they came back and did it right, and they paid for it. So, North Tuolumne Road, as you guys all know, there was a slide out during those major storms a few years ago. And so it's taking a lot of geotechnical engineering studies. We're working on getting the money. Actually, I think we actually have the money secured, and I believe this year the final work's going to begin. Now, potholes. When I ran for office, I told everybody that their roads were going to get worse before they got better. You know why? Because I did the research. It's a $300 million problem, and you can't fix wagon-wheel roads with tiny amounts of money. Again, like I said earlier, we have $780,000 of budget on roads and materials. So when you see like the major collectors like Tuolumne Road or Phoenix Lake Road, when we do like a mile of that, it's like $1 million. It's ridiculous. So we're never going to get ahead. So that's not the solution. So when I got into office, we met with our public works director. Let's do more roadside brushing. Let's clean out the culvert pipes. Let's make sure that the water's not running over the road. That's a really good way to stop the free fall, the PCI effects fall. Keep that water from going over the road. But then one thing that we realized really quick, and it's actually something that myself and Kim brought before the board, was a hot patch machine. Stop doing these cold patches, do the hot patch, it's going to go a lot slower. Now that's great, that was revolutionary at the time. But something that I wanted to do years ago was put transient occupancy tax towards our roads, but I wouldn't get support in that, because you know what? If you put 2.7 million towards roads, that's coming out of the general fund. So it's going to hit other people really hard. And everybody treats all ships like they're equal before this new board got elected. Now the new board is prioritizing fire, law enforcement, and roads within the budget. We're actually putting our money where our mouth is. So the amazing thing is that for the first time ever this year, we're going to start dumping money towards our local roads. And the better part is, this is where it gets really good. If we get out of the public contract code, we don't have to do those big 1-inch overlays. We can do 3/4 inch, 1/2 inch. And yeah, the pushback is, well, this only lasts 10 years. Well, guess what? Last time our public works director found a county in Idaho, every 7 years they touch every single road. So if every 7 years I'm coming back and touching it, then who cares if that product's only good for 10 years? And by the way, who cares if that road down here if it hasn't been touched in 30 years? Then give me a 10-year overlay, and I'll be back in 7, and then you take the butt. We're literally on the precipice of one of the biggest things happening to our county when it comes to roads. It sounds pathetic, but that's where we're at.
Thank you, Mr. Kirk.
Yeah, our roads are bad. They're like the third bad in the state or something like that. They're really bad. I learned how to drive up here. My dad would take me out to the parking lot at the Dodge Ridge and throw the car in a spin when it was snowing. So I know how to get out of a spin when it was snowing. I've been driving on these roads ever since. What I didn't realize is how bad our roads were until I went somewhere else. I was literally in Arizona and out in Scottsdale, and their roads are incredible. It's like all of them are brand new. And I turned to my wife and I went, this is what you're talking about. Because in my mind, if you want to fix the roads, you just drive slowly. Everyone who comes from out of the county and lives here agrees our roads are the worst. So our public works director, Blossom, got direction from the board, and she put her head down and really solved some amazing problems just in the last 4 years. What happened before that wasn't so great. We did have hot patch machines. We did have other machines that we ended up buying and selling. And recently we just spent $450,000 on another hot patch machine. So it's short-term thinking again. I think we're finally landing in a place that the board is finally hearing the people. When you all get together and yell really loud, I think all 5 of them eventually agree we need new roads. I think roads need to be a priority as well. I will also support Blossom 100%. With the purchases that she makes and the decisions she's making. She's doing a great job. She's one of the last ones to still have a job, still keeping a department head that wasn't either forced to resign or asked to leave or quit. So she's obviously doing something right. So yeah, hopefully this 7-year plan will work. The idea of follow-through is where this really comes in to play. Because you can make a plan, but you really have to pay attention to make sure it's working, be transparent about where our money is being spent. And if it's not working, be able to pivot. Don't be set in your ways that one solution is going to be the only solution. Right now, that is the only solution. So when I get in there, I'll look at that solution and look at all the others that can back it up.
I don't really know what you just said, but TOT, again, $3.4 million. Because of that TOT allocation, another critical piece, Roku workers. We are supposed to have 25, we have 20, because we can't retain them because of the pay. So you know what I've been working on? I'm working with their union. They're going to create their own union, and then we're going to be able to give them some fat raises with this new allocation. And we're going to be able to potentially add more. So I know this is Palmy City, we don't get a lot of snow, but that's going to fix our snow plowing issues. We're going to actually have operators to be in our community snow plowing. So we're going to be able to retain staff to actually do the work. A lot of the machinery that we're buying is to get out of the public contract code. So I don't have to pay somebody $1 million. I have my own chip seal machine, if I'm doing hot punch machines, we can do it a lot cheaper. Follow through. I think I can easily say I have a proven record of following through. It's undeniable, and we put our budget behind it.
So back to TOT. Every time we take from TOT, we got to take it from somewhere else. So we're already getting into our sheriff, who's doing an amazing job. And we're getting some to fire, and now we're taking more out to roads. What's going to suffer is our number one industry, which is our tourist industry. So I would have to take a harder look at that and see what's going to happen with Visit Tuolumne and where they're going to go with that. As far as the unions are concerned, the unions coming in, luckily the North Valley Union Labor Federation has backed me because the person I'm running against is well known in down California as becoming the union buster. So working with unions will become that much more difficult if I'm not elected. Thank you.
Okay, the next question says, what can be done about the overcrowding at Pinecrest in the summer? And if overcrowding at Pinecrest is an issue for the county, what can you do about it? And it starts with Mr. McCaffrey.
So this has come up a bunch in this last year. And I put forward something about parking lots on federal land, and went as far as trying to stripe it with county money. I'm 100% against it. There's a better way to take care of our crowds in Pinecrest than to charge people, thinking that there's going to have some turnover, because when people start paying $18 for a couple hours to park at Pinecrest, the reality is people who come to Pinecrest, even if they had to pay to park, which they won't, people go to Pinecrest and they're all day. So as far as the overcrowding itself, that's something we got to work with the feds. I've gotten a lot of great ideas that have been asked and told to me. I'm not sure how we can do it, because we have to have a good relationship with the federal government, the Federal Forest Service, which right now we don't have that great of a relationship out there for District 3. I personally want to figure that out because I want to keep the crowds, because those crowds spend money. And when we try to limit that, those crowds, what we're doing is we're limiting our income into Tuolumne County. We need to support those crowds. We need to figure out maybe some sort of a solution where we can expand the beach. But the bottom line is trying to limit crowds into Pinecrest is really limiting our income. It's going to limit TOT. It's going to limit spending at the restaurants. It's going to limit and take down the $300+ million that tourists bring in to Tuolumne County. Specifically, District 3 and District 4 are the two top earners of that TOT. And they're the two top earners of all tourist money together. So limiting access to Pinecrest, I know it's crowded. I personally go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night. We get a spot once a year at Pinecrest that we have to book a year in advance. But other than that, we find our place. And we make friends. We help pick up the garbage. And we make it available to the tourists that come in here and spend the money. Thank you.
All right, again, I don't know what you said. I didn't hear one solution for the question. It was just, we know there's a problem. So, again, let's solve the problem. You can't, and I have to say this real quick, because you said something about TOT 9.7 million and the other one. By allocating money towards local roads, it doesn't hurt TOT. We're just taking the money that's already there and allocating it. Very confusing. Pinecrest. So, you can say you're about fire safety and public safety, but then when you go up to Pinecrest in the summer and you get locked into deadlock and you can't get out for a half hour because people are illegally parking all over the place, you got a problem. I started a nonprofit, Tuolumne Safe. We put in an exit route on Mount Provo Road without any taxpayer dollars, okay? Talk about safety, I'm all about it. Time press. If we have a fire, we're gonna lose lives and people cannot get in and out. I've talked to the sheriff, I've spoken with OES. We need to address that issue. So the first thing that our board did is we put up no parking signs. The second thing that we did is we raised our fees. If you go up there and park illegally, you're gonna get you're gonna have a higher fee. But again, we're finding that people from the Bay Area don't mind paying a $100 ticket or a fine. So we're gonna up that. But one of the things that people need to understand is although we've made major investments in the sheriff's department, again, 61 deputies to 78 deputies, and we have deputies going up there in the quarter, people want deputies to be up there all the time during the summer, like all weekend, all week. But we can't park a sheriff deputy up there all day when we got calls for burglaries down in Tweenhart and Tuolumne City. So the idea was, let's come up with a mechanism where we have folks come and pay a parking fee, and it keeps a permanent deputy up there writing tickets. So the problem with that is that when it was pitched before the board, I had two supervisors who continued to nuke the idea. And if we would have actually just had the conversation, we could have landed on something that would work. And I'll make this really simple. The idea was an $18 parking fee, which I personally think is way too high. And there was zero conversation about how much the fee should be and when to implement it. You know what my mother did? They did a survey on that. It completely failed. I called them up and said, hey, could you do a survey on $10 a day? $10 a day, it completely went the other way. It was completely supported. And guess what? Locals want to go up there and not pay. You know what the easy solution is? From 10 to 2. That's when young people pay. So locals can get up there in the morning, they can get in there after 2, they're not touched. When all of the folks from the Valley show up around 10, let them pay for it. And guess what? The business community was on board with it because we were going to have an annual pass for the locals, to where if you bought an annual pass, you could go to a local business and get like a 15% discount for the time. So I was actually working with the business community who thought it was a great idea. We didn't even get to get that far because it got shot down.
All right, so yeah, part of the illegal parking problem was informal. We raised it from $35 to $100, and that was a positive step. I was at that meeting. There was talk of making that parking fee, which I supported, $300, and the second offense $600, which would have been amazing. The problem was, if we raised it there, we got to raise it countywide, so they couldn't follow through with that. As far as the fee in the parking lot, that we cannot do it. The feds own it. It's a waste of time and money. They won't let us have it. And even if the conversation began today, it's 2 years. That money can go to that parking lot, and the people will keep it out. It would not go to any sheriff, any deputy. It just isn't allowed. Thank you.
I don't know where he gets this information. I've literally had tons of meetings with U.S. Forest Service, and we're absolutely going to go down that path and make it work. And we actually still are. But we're going to go out a different process. We're going to go through another FP. So it's going to take another couple of years since there's so much opposition. We'll just do it a different way. But I want to talk real quick about their strategy. There's also strategy that a lot of you guys may not understand about how I operate. I used to be on a CERT team, a crisis response team. I cross-trained as a negotiator. I do negotiations both in the county and in my personal life. One of the ways that we get things done is sometimes you need to raise hell. And so I raised hell about podcasts, and guess what? Because I raised hell, the U.S. Forest Service is giving us $150,000 this year. So guess what? Even though we're not raising the fees, we're going to have a deputy up there. We're using Forest Service money. We're going to pay for that deputy. So guess what? Sometimes there's other things going on, but I couldn't really say that publicly. But now that we got the agreement, they're going to give us some money.
Thank you, Mr. Kirk.
Okay, and next one questions I will be asking. And I just want to ask as a reminder how we stay respectful, and when the red paper is up, that it signifies the hard stop, and that you can stop talking, whether you're finished with your question or not. Okay. And this one will be opened by Mr. Kirk. Why should Tuolumne residents have to pay higher sanitation fees when the tribe is building homes and businesses and was refunded for $1 million?
I don't know why. I haven't been privy to that conversation. That's a local. As you guys all know, there's a district here, so you guys have an elected board that deals with the sanitary issues. Just like I don't sit on the TUD board and I don't weigh in on what they do and how they're raising. I know sometimes people will call me and say, "What do you think about this?" or "How can you change TUD's ideas?" or my response is, "That's not my jurisdiction." So. To be straight with you, if I was going to have an informed decision, I would have to ask questions of the tribe, of the sewer district, of the district here, get some more information, but I'm not going to really say it. Because the reality of it is, you guys, and I'm just giving you this angle from, like, for instance, TUD. They're non-for-profit. TUD isn't there to make money. They're non-profit, right? But when you live in an old county like this, and you have pipes that are like 100 plus years old, you have infrastructure that you absolutely have to fix. There's no way around it. So I know that people aren't fixing homes, they're getting screwed by insurance, and the cost of living is through the roof. But the reality of it is like infrastructure has to be fixed, and it costs money. So I'm assuming that that district is a non-profit, and they're looking at the infrastructure, they're looking at the bills. And I'm telling you, the longer you wait on infrastructure projects, they just get more expensive. So you can dig your head in the sand and say, "I'm not doing this. I don't want a $100 raise in my water." Well, guess what? A decade from now, that might be a $400 hit to your account. So, you can partner, you can go after grants to do some of this work. I know Jamestown is committed to working with Jamestown because we know that the future of a lot of our development in Tuolumne County is actually going to be from Jamestown towards Oakdale. That's where the footprint looks like. So we're trying to put some momentum or some help with the Jamestown district. But here locally, I hope my answer of just kind of the bigger picture helps kind of guide you guys where I'm at. I would have to agree with some more information about this.
Why should Tuolumne residents have to pay higher sanitation fees when the tribe is building homes and businesses and was refunded $4 million?
Yeah, that is a good question. I'm sort of in the same boat as Anaiah here. I know that this new housing department that's going on, the new housing that's going on over here is being funded by the tribe. And as far as prices being raised for sewer, sanitation. Those are two separate issues right there. Tribe is working under sovereign land, I'm assuming. I really don't want to speak out of a turn. I think what I would do if I was your supervisor is do what I'm doing now, which is creating a relationship with the tribe itself. I'm going to be sitting down with Mr. Kennedy next week and talk about how we can improve relationships with not only Tuolumne but District 3 overall, and having those conversations with him, and then bringing them back to Tuolumne so that we can have a transparent conversation instead of holding resentments. Being respectful to the tribe is a big deal to me, and I'm going to continue to hold that respect to them. I think that's a big step in the right direction, so that as a community that's in the same town as the tribe itself, we need to work together. And it's not something that we should be fighting back and forth with. It's nothing exciting with it. It's talking back and forth and communicating so that we all get on the same page.
Mr. Kirk?
One thing that came to mind is, so if I heard the question the second time, refunded $4 million, I would again have to look. The tribe may have made some investments into that, which would make sense why they would maybe be refunded. I don't know if this community knows, but the tribe has an MOU with the county. It dates back from when they first built the casino. The MOU basically says that they're going to offset some of the impacts that they have from their casino, and they're going to have benefits for the community. That's funding fire, that's funding Tuolumne Road, mental health, social services, all these things that they bring to the community. But I want to remind folks, they're not required to do that MOU with the county. They do it in good faith. So when we talk about relationships, I met Kevin 8 years ago on the campaign trail. I have a great relationship with him. I have a great relationship with tribe members. Sometimes they're some of the first people that I call. But if they were refunded $4 million, it was for a very specific reason. I can guarantee you, based on my relationship and how they operate.
Thank you.
I mean, I just have to be honest here. Anaiah doesn't have a good relationship with the tribe. I don't want to attack Anaiah on this part, but basically I was told that we need to fix that relationship, that in those meetings right now, there's been things said by the county that were unacceptable. Things like, we've got too many chiefs and not enough Indians. Which is not only offensive, but it was pretty shocking when I heard that. So literally, it's the reason I reached out to have that conversation and to first apologize. Similar conversations I've had with Chicken Edge. So, yeah, I think the first thing I would do is repair that relationship.
Thank you. The next question reads, and Mr. McCaffrey. If elected, will you commit to being a full-time supervisor? Why? If not, why not?
Yeah, I answered this question. So Anaiah asked me if I promise not to have any other job. Yeah. If I have to be totally transparent, which I will be, of course, there are some nonprofits that I work for that I will continue to work for. I don't get paid for it. I donate it on my own time. So if that counts, then yeah, I will do some stuff on the side. But other than that, I will be dedicated 100%. It has seriously become a passion of mine. Everything that I'm learning just ties back into how much I love the area, how much I feel connected to this place, and yeah, I'm absolutely dedicated to not only be full-time, but to go the extra mile. I've said this plenty of times, but really this has brought in a new purpose for me, and it has, from the moment it caught fire, this has been a purpose-driven life for me. Like coming and doing these things, talking to the public, talking to the people who are working for the county, talking to the other supervisors, whether they like me or not. I still like to get the information. Going up and down Highway 108, stopping into the businesses and having conversations with them, really getting to understand what they want, knocking on doors, specifically right here in Tuolumne City. Excuse me, in Tuolumne. Ooh, almost made it, right? This place is special in my heart. The people who live here are special to me. My kids grew up here, and I want it to be special for them and their friends and their kids and their kids' kids. And I think the way that I can contribute to that is to be a full-time supervisor and dedicate at least the next 4 years of my life to something that matters that much to me, and obviously to everyone who showed up tonight, who are civically engaged. So, thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to use my time to address one thing that was said about my relationship with the tribe. I'm going to call Kevin Day after this and let him know of the allegations that we don't have a good relationship. And I know exactly where those comments are coming from. Those are probably coming from Dory Deeds, who's our ODS director. who is completely refusing to go under the sheriff's department and quit because we're trying to restructure that. So I just want to bring clarity to that. When it comes to full-time, I'm glad that Tim made it abundantly clear that he's not going to work with him if he's elected. The problem is, again, I am driven by results. If you drive by my property, if you look at how I promoted in my life, if you look at the things I put my hands to, there's something in my spirit that like wants to create things and have results. And I don't understand people who work hard and who are successful or who can do a lot, they get what I'm saying. I was in front of the business council in Realtors Association and they get it. But then when I go from time to time and I get in front of people and they think, oh, you have to just do that one thing, I'm like, you'll never get it. You'll never get it. You can go to 23 committees and commissions and accomplish zero. Zero. As long as I am dedicating my time to what matters for Tuolumne County residents, I know what you guys want. It's on my wall. Every time I go out before a board meeting, I look at that wall and I say I gotta deliver results on those items. That's what I do. I'm not going to go to a committee if it's not delivering that result. I'm not going to go to another commission if it's not delivering that result. I damn well do go to every single board meeting because that's where the representatives go. But I want to really clarify that. And identity. I've heard him bring up a lot his identity is this. I want you guys to know right now, my identity is not in public service, in being a county supervisor. It is in service, but it's not in being a county supervisor. What defines me is my relationship with the guy upstairs, my relationship with my wife, and my relationship with my children. That is what gives me purpose. And the minute that you elect somebody who comes into this office and this is their identity, that's how you get politicians who are afraid to make hard decisions because they don't want to upset people. It's that simple. I see it. I see it every Tuesday. So, Tim has been talking about running obviously for a year, but I know for 4 years. The number one job of government is the policy. Well, safety and security people, but you gotta know the policy. So Tim, what are the 3 funds that are in the general fund that make up all of our money? The 3 funds. Let's see if the answers are for fun. I'm sorry. Let's see if the answers are for fun. 3 funds in the government, it makes up everything that we do. It's right there on open government.
Yes. I never said it was my identity. I don't plan it to be my identity. I plan it to be my passion and my purpose. 2 different things. 3 different things. He's right. 4 years ago, I thought about running. Totally thought about it. And like day 4, after I made a joke on Facebook about running, Anaiah called me and left a message and wanted to let me know what I was about to get into. That moment, I changed my mind. It was like, I do not want to put my children through that. I saw what happened the first time when I ran against Lori Sylvester, and I saw what's happening now to me. And literally was like, no, thank you. I don't want to put my children through that. So I waited until they were out of high school. Now I'm in it. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Tim just admitted he's been thinking about running for 4 years and he won't answer the question. What are the 3 funds that make up everything that we do in budget? So, if you're going to run for office and you're going to think about it for 4 years, you got to understand the budget. You have to understand the budget. I sat back for years and watched people try to make things priorities without making it a priority in the budget. That's why as soon as the new board got elected, I was taking notes for years. I said, as soon as I get an opportunity, I'm taking it. I got an Excel spreadsheet on everything that I've been waiting to do. We're finally doing it. We're prioritizing fire, law enforcement, and roads. We pulled fire and law enforcement out of the general fund and parked them. We're going to fund those first. Roads, we're pulling it out. We're not pulling it out, but we're going to put TOT towards roads. I know this sounds crazy, but we got to start with the basics first. You've never had a board who's done that until now. 1 vote. You are 1 vote away from all that money happens.
Thank you, Mr. Kirk. The next question is it possible to add sidewalks in Tuolumne? Why or why not? Mr. Kirk, you can answer.
Talking about township, Tuolumne?
Yes.
I agree with you. I always call it Tuolumne City, even though I don't know whether it's a township. Can you put sidewalks in? I would have to go to the public works director, look at the approach, see if there's encroachments. I know from doing some work up in Sweetheart, there was just a storm drainage project that went through last year, and part of it was we were able to enhance some of the sidewalks and maybe add a little additional. But I mean, I don't hear people screaming for sidewalks, but I do hear people yelling for it. They want their roads to be overlaid or potholes. Or I know I was door knocking over here some families were concerned that their kids were running, riding their bikes and the cars were going too fast, so they asked about speed bumps. So, some simple things we could do is some studies on the roads. We could do speed bumps, but I want you guys to understand how expensive those things are. Sidewalks are very expensive, and usually that turns into complete street projects, which are insanely expensive. So, if the public outcry is going to be sidewalks, I need to hear that one because I've never heard that. We could go down that road, but I don't think we have a realistic based on the fact that I haven't heard it as a concern, and the amount of money that it would take to do it. I could probably literally with the overlays. Again, the overlay, under the public contract code, it costs us about $1 million to do a mile of road. Now that we're getting away from that, my public works director says that we can do a mile of overlay with that half-inch or less. We can do a mile for $50,000. So if a sidewalk's going to cost me $1 million to do sidewalks here, we'll take $1 million, divide by 50,000, add that to miles, and we could probably do overlays all of downtown and Tuolumne. And I think people will be much more excited about that, because then you wouldn't need a sidewalk, you could just ride your bike and roll the roads and street like that. So, I'm going to take it about that.
Mr. Kirk, Mr. McCaffrey.
Yeah, so the first thing I do is go ask some questions. I'd ask the people in Tuolumne, do they want sidewalks in their town? Just pulling in, I did see some signs out there that said to drive real careful because there's kids walking around on the way to school. It was actually right over here, right by the playground. And I was like, oh wow, all the way back here. So, he's right. Sidewalks are expensive. But the reality is, if the town got together and said, we want sidewalks, that's a priority for Tuolumne, isn't it? So then it becomes a priority for me. That's how government works. That's how it works for me. That's how it works for a supervisor. I mean, I'm not going to turn around and tell you, yeah, it's going to happen tomorrow. We can start something. We can start a project. We can start putting it out there and trying to see how we can raise the funds. And then if we can get the money or a grant to put in these sidewalks, because right now it's a little too dangerous for children to walk to school, then yeah, let's put sidewalks in. The one thing that came to mind when I said, when I thought about can we do that, is that we've got property that goes all the way to the roads. So are we now encroaching on someone's property? Are we going to have to go the other way and make our roads a little bit smaller? I don't know the answers to that question, but that would be part of the conversation. The bottom line is, I'm not going to know what you want. First of all, if I don't ask, or if you don't tell me. So if I'm in office and I get a phone call from one person, and I get another one from another person, then the process begins. I'd obviously talk to the board here, find out their priorities, and see what fits in with sidewalks.
Thank you, Mr. Kirk.
All right, you brought up competing priorities, which is a really important thing to understand. Our board, every year we do, or every 2 years we do an annual workshop where we decide what are our priorities for the next 2 years. And at the end of the day, it comes down to a pretty small list because you only have so much money, and we have so much staff capacity, and really it takes time to get some of these things done. So one thing that I've been really straight with people, I'll give you the example of the short-term rental conversation up in Tweenar. And really just in fact, for years people have been demanding, we want a short-term rental conversation. and I would bring it before the board. It wouldn't make it on the agenda. That was 2 years. It wouldn't make it on the agenda. So it's really important that when you guys elect somebody, when you're asking if we want this to be a priority, we got to be straight with you, let me know if it's a long shot or maybe it's not. But if it's a priority, get the community behind it and show up to a board meeting and make sure the board hears you that it's a priority. But again, it's a tough thing. Like sidewalks, I can guarantee you, would never be a board priority.
Mr. McCaffrey?
If I'll go back to just saying, like, it might not be a priority, but it can definitely make the list. If we got something together and enough people want it, then it becomes a priority. My job would be to have that conversation with the other board members, have a conversation with Blossom. I mean, I can't guarantee you anything's not a priority to the board. I mean, it's pretty simple as far as I'm concerned. There are priorities, but other things can still happen. That's why grants are that one-time grant to pay for a sidewalk. We'll pay for a sidewalk.
Thank you, Mr. McCaffrey. We will now move on to the closing.
So for the closing statements, each candidate will be given 4 minutes. We'll start with Mr. Kirk, once ready. 4 minutes, yes.
Yeah, that was usually 2 minutes last night. Don't worry, guys. We'll do PG. It's fine. So you guys have heard the clear difference between the two of us. And somebody asked me a while back, what do you think about people running for office? And you have to run. I had the courage to do it 8 years ago. I was up against, I think, 5 people, and I had no idea that I would win. I really didn't think I would win. So to Tim's credit, it takes courage to run for office. I hear a lot of people in this community complaining and whining, and then I find out they're not even registered to vote. And I say, don't call me back. You don't vote. You don't get it. You don't, just don't. Sorry, I'm just being real. So, but there is a clear difference, and I think what I'm most disappointed in, or what sucks the most is, when I ran for office, I had literally 2 weeks to declare and get the paperwork in and figure it out. If you have 4 years to think about it, then please come with something to deliver. Because when I've dedicated the last 7 years of my life and given up on so many things to prioritize the community's needs, fire, law enforcement, roads, let's go over those again. Fire, doubled from 2 stations to 4. Yeah, we lost 56, it's going to come back, but we're not going to use grants, and we're not going to raise taxes. We're going to do the hard work in the budget. What about the sheriff's department? 61 deputies to 78. The narcotics team is back, getting deadly fentanyl off our streets. You're seeing it all over the news. Our school resource officers are in our schools keeping our kids safe. Those kids are building relationships with those deputies that is going to be a cultural change for this generation. They're reporting things that you guys have no idea about. And those school resource officers weren't there when I was in office, they're there now. That TNT wasn't there before, they're there now. Roads, we're talking about roads, the TOT allocation. That's monumental. And I feel like we're in a debate on who's the most popular, who should we go get the beer with. If you guys want the results, I'm here. I'll continue to serve. It's that simple. Again, part of my frustration, when he ran for office, when he publicly declared, he said a lot of things, but law enforcement and public safety, the 2 most important things that we should be doing as government, were nowhere to be found in his public declaration. This week, there's campaign ads, and he did Democrat. He's pro-law enforcement. Full-time. I don't care what you do full-time. I don't care. My brother has multiple businesses. He's successful. Gavin Newsom, I think, owns 21 businesses. I don't hear the Democrats freaking out about that. But you got a young kid who works hard, who doesn't sleep, who busts his butt to do what he does for his family, for his community, and all of a sudden we have a problem with that? Give me a break. Some funny things I heard along the campaign trail. He was asked at a forum, how are you going to get tourism to come up here? One of the funny things he said was, we're going to have them come up and look at wildflowers. That was fun. You came before our board a few months ago when we were having a fire conversation. You said, let's just do it all. You guys, we can't do it all. We have to live within our means and we have to budget. So, this election is really simple. This is a public safety election. This is a roads election. And if you want me to stay in office and continue to deliver results, whether you like me or not, whether you like the way I roll, or you like the way I speak and my attitude, I'm still going to work for you guys to deliver those results. Because at the end of the day, you're going to forget my name, but the results and the budget and the priorities matter long after.
Thank you, Mr. Kirk.
First off, I want to thank Tuolumne Park and Rec for putting this on. This is pretty cool that it's happening. And I want to thank you guys for moderating. It's not easy, and you really showed your stuff. So the debate team for Summerville's got it going on. And I especially want to thank everyone who's come out tonight. Civil engagement is important. I think there's a lot of young people who learned something from it. Some people are really frustrated right now. And I think if they saw what's going on at the local level, they'd be inspired. So, I love Tuolumne County. I love it with all my heart. I love it enough that I'm willing to work for it. I love it enough that I'm willing to risk the slings and arrows that might be coming my way. And I love it enough to take those slings and arrows. The bottom line is that we're at a point where things are really important. We just lost a fire station. Station 56 was defunded. And that was just one more thing that I think needs to come back. And we need to figure out how to fund it. And Anaiah sort of just quoted me when I said, do everything. What I said was, I don't care if they fund it, just fund it. And I mean that. It needs to be funded. That's my backup fire station. And I can tell you from experience that we need it. We're going to lose it right in the middle of fire season. And not only will we lose the fire protection, we're going to lose the medical attention. And I know for a fact that we need it. The bottom line is, if someone dies because that station is closed, I'll be really upset. I'll be really upset. Oh my God. And I'll be sad that I wasn't on that board to make the right decisions for this county. Once again, if I'm elected, I promise there's nothing else going on in my life other than being a full-time supervisor. That's what's important to me. I believe it should be important to you. Because Tuolumne County doesn't need a part-time supervisor. Someone with a second job. That's a 40-hour-a-week job. Tuolumne County doesn't need more division. We need better preparation. We need better communication. And we need someone who's willing to listen and take those ideas and make them happen. I promise that that's what I'm going to dedicate the next 4 years of my life doing. Representing you, no matter what side you fall on. I promise I will listen. I promise I will bring that forward. Because if you shout loud enough and I hear it, then I know it's important. And if it's important to you, the bottom line is, it's important to me. If it's a priority for you, it's a priority for me, because it's a priority in Monroe County. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. McCaffrey. I just want to extend a huge thank you to all of you guys who came out tonight. This is what local government looks like. This is how we do elections. Now, you guys were both wonderful. I thank you for being respectful, and I thank all you guys for showing up. Have a great evening.